Hello everyone, this is Jag. In this video I'm touring a blueberry farm and I'm picking my own blueberries to eat. And in this video I'll show you everything you need to know on how to grow blueberries. So let's get started. I'm picking the ripest and the sweetest blueberries at a U-Pick farm in Hanford, California. This is where I'll be learning everything on how to grow blueberries from Farmer John, who has been growing blueberries for past 13 years. We've only recently tamed blueberries and started growing blueberries commercially, and there's a technique and science behind growing blueberries. I'm here with John. He's the owner of Rancho, Notso, Grande here in Hanford, California. It's in Central California. And he grows all kinds of berries. And he's going to be giving us some really good information on how to grow berries. Let's first cover the variety of blueberries. So what kind of varieties of blueberries do you prefer, and what grows best in what kind of climate?
Yeah, that's really a good question, because although blueberries are native to North America, they don't grow in California historically, and the whole blueberry industry here is only about 14 years old. And how that came about was that University of Florida at Gainesville came out with some varieties that are actually called the Southern highbush varieties that have lower chilling requirements. So the point is, it's not too hot here, it's actually not cold enough, so you couldn't initiate floral development with the other varieties. So that's what made it happen here. I happen to have 3 of the maybe 15 Southern highbush varieties. Well, now 4. I just started a new one as an experiment. Yeah. But in the old days, they believed that you needed cross-pollination so that you couldn't do the same one in the field. However, today we found out that they'll fertilize adequately, the flowers anyway, without cross-pollination. Why I selected 3, and those that I chose were based on when they came off, from the standpoint that I have an early variety, an intermediate, and a late, so I can start my season earlier than the mass market, and I can finish later. I see. So which one is the early, which one is the mid, and yeah, so the earliest variety is called the Star, and okay. It's amazing. It's a huge berry, quarter to $half sizes. My intermediate one is one of the older varieties called Emerald. That's that one there behind you. Very good flavor. And then my last one's called South Moon, and really you can't even buy that anymore commercially. It's a small berry, but it's got the best flavor. I mean, actually, I have people that call me from all over and they say, are the South Moons ready? Because we're not coming unless they are. Yeah, so it's really interesting. So in a nutshell, research the variety of blueberries that grow best in your region and your climate. For example, if you're in California, grow Southern highbush variety. In Florida, grow rabbiteye variety. And in Canada, grow Northern highbush variety. Blueberries like acidic soil and pH level between 4.5 and 5.5. So how do you go about doing that? Let's learn about the soil. Native soil pH here is a 7, so it's neutral, which is good for just about every crop, and I guess that's one of the reasons that Central California can grow anything. But blueberries, on the other hand, require acidic soil. So before I could ever plant these, I had to amend the soil. You'd like to be at maybe a 5.5 pH. I got as low as 4.3, but I amended the soils and it came back up a little bit. All right. So what kind of amendments do you use? Initially, I condition the soil or change the soil pH with sulfuric acid, which is a liquid and it's hazardous. I had to hire a service to put it on for me. After that, I was using urea sulfuric acid to condition my water so that I didn't change the soil pH. And then after a few years, I abandoned that because my pH wasn't changing, so I was okay there. So for the home gardeners, that the people who want to grow blueberries in their home or in their backyard, what kind of amendments they can use to lower the pH? Right. The most easily obtainable would be elemental sulfur, and that you can mix that into your soil, and then it would over time lower the soil pH. On a smaller scale, you could even use vinegar. I mean, it's per gallon. It's expensive as input, but it's practical because everybody can get it. You can put vinegar in your soil, and then maybe even an easier solution is to buy pre-mixed soil in bags and then do your berries in a pot or in a raised bed, and then you're using an artificial media that would have proper pH. If using elemental sulfur, prepare ground at least 6 months before planting by mixing compost and elemental sulfur. Start in early fall, and the sulfur will break down over a period of next month, lowering the pH of the soil, and the ground will be ready for planting in spring. Now we can move on to planting. You can buy plants from a nursery that are about 1 to 2 years old. Plant blueberry bushes in rows. Plant spacing should be 3 feet apart and row spacing anywhere from 12 to 15 feet apart. Blueberries prefer full sun, so plant blueberries in an area that receives a lot of sun. Soon the blueberry plants will begin to grow.
The leaves act like little solar panels and absorb sunlight to create energy. And then blueberries start appearing on the plants the following year after planting. However, it takes 4 to 5 years for blueberries to reach their potential and produce optimal harvest. Next up, watering. So what about watering? Do blueberries like really moist soil? Do you have to water less often, more often? Do you have to plant them on mounds? How does that work?
Yeah, right. So any plant you can drown. So the way we get away from that is to have, and we have pretty sandy soils here, so they drain pretty well, but we plant everything on a mound or on a berm, and that way we can get drainage, particularly with all the rain we've had this year. But on the other hand, blueberries have very shallow root systems, and with direct sunlight exposure, it can damage the roots. So you mulch the beds with a variety of substances to preserve moisture and protect the roots too.
I see. Yeah. So basically in summer when it's hot out, are you like watering every single day?
Every day, yep.
Every day. Mm-hmm. All right, just keep them moist, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right. The best way to water blueberries is with drip irrigation so that you can easily control the amount of water. If your soil is too heavy like heavy clay or you have drainage issues, just add a lot of organic matter and compost to improve drainage. Now it's time to learn about pruning blueberry plants. So what about pruning? Like, do you have to prune blueberry bushes or how does that work?
Right, so you don't ever have to really. They just, once you plant them, they continue to grow. But because I'm at the point, maybe you'll see here later in other areas, I have row closure, which means the bushes are growing together. So I do go in and I hedge prune them on the sides and top just to keep them more compact.
I do see that, John, back here, the blueberry bushes are like closing in on the rows.
Yeah, we call that row closure, and you don't see it in most crops. But as I mentioned, the whole industry is only 14 years old. These are 13-year-old bushes, and they said at that time you should plant them on 9-foot spacings, and this is 9 foot, and you can see it's not adequate.
Let's learn about pesticides, if any, we need to use on blueberries. So John, what about pesticides? Like, do pests really bother with blueberries and other berries?
Most of these varieties, even though they're native to North America, you would tend to think they'd have a lot of native pressures, but they don't really have much. The one that is only the one is significant in blueberries is basically an after harvest occurrence, and that's western flower thrips. And they basically chew and suck on the fragile or tender foliage, and then it stunts the plant. It doesn't kill it, it just stunts it, and then you get less productivity. So our answer here is to use a natural technique, and these are basically 1,000 per bag, and there's 400 of them out here, so you can do the math. But these are microscopic wasps that actually parasitize by laying their eggs into the thrips. So we start early now. We're not after harvest when the thing comes. If we start early, we can build populations so that it will control it in the end.
After growing a lot of berries, we also need to know how to protect blueberries. And I just heard a cannon going off, and it's just really loud, and it just really gets me every time.
It does.
What is that?
Yeah. Okay, so as we're filming here, you're going to notice in the background that we employ about every bird repelling technique that there is, and not one of them works. So you have to do everything to have any type of control, and I still lose berries to birds. But with that, you'll see visual deterrents like flash tape. We have air inflatable scarecrows and air dancers. We have owl decoys, hawk decoys, and so that, to answer your question, is a propane cannon. And basically it creates a sound that scares the birds away.
Lastly, let's learn how to pick the ripest blueberries. Blueberries grow in clusters and not all ripen at the same time. All right, John, so how do you pick really good blueberries?
I'm going to show you, and I'm an expert, and there is a technique to it. Here's probably a good example. So if you look at the flower end, they both look blue, like blueberries, but when you turn them over, there is a distinct difference. And if you wipe off the wax, you'll see that this one's got a red tint to it, and this one's blue all the way to the stem center. So that's a good one. You actually have a good one too.
The ripe blueberries are dark blue in color. Do not go by size, go by color. Gently pull on the berries, and the ripe ones will drop right in your hands without any effort. You can even use both hands to engulf the cluster and gently pull on the berries to harvest the ripest ones. This is the quickest method to harvest the ripe blueberries. These berries are super sweet. Almost lost one. They are amazing. They taste like sugar. All right, John, thank you very much for giving us all this good information on growing blueberries and some other berries as well. But blueberries is what I am really, passionate about. I love blueberries.
Great.
So thank you for all the good information, and I really appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got a lot of good information from John on how to grow blueberries. He's an expert in growing blueberries, and I'll see you in another video. These berries are super sweet.